Are you actually where you thought you would be? Or has this year already started to run away from you? Welcome to the Property Mindset Podcast, where I'm Emma Howitt, mentor investor, and your guide to building wealth, freedom, and personal transformation through property. Property is never just about bricks and mortar. It's about who you become along the way, the mindset you build, the decisions you make under pressure, and the rooms that you're brave enough to step into. Today's episode is called Half-Time Review, the mindset audit every property investor should do in June. Now, we are literally slap bang in the middle of the year. And back in January, like most people, you probably set intentions, maybe big goals, maybe quiet promises to yourself about where you wanted to be by the end of the year, but equally where you wanted to be by now. So I am going to ask you, are you actually where you thought you would be? Or has this year already started to run away from you? And it really is, especially as we've got the World Cup going at the moment, this is, like your half time, just like a football team comes into the dressing room at half time and looks honestly at the scores and adjusts their game plan. You get to do the same with your property journey. And it's definitely not a place of beating yourself up. What have I done? All these terrible things. It's not about that at all. It really comes from a place of just very honest reflection and looking at self leadership and potentially just a course correction. So, in this episode, I'm going to walk you through a 5-part mindset audit. And you can use this every June or really any time you want to just have that reset. So I'm going to look at your number one, your vision and direction. Number two, your beliefs and self talk. Number three, your strategy and execution. Number four, your room and relationships. And number five, your emotional state and resilience. So by the end, you'll have like one you'll be able to make a clear shift that you can do this week to change the trajectory of your year if that's needed. So do go ahead, really think this through, grab a notebook if it works for you, and see what you can do to ensure that your year still gets the accolade, the pride, whatever it is that you want to do. So let's jump in. Number one, vision and direction. Do you still know what you're playing for? So this is often quite a tough question, actually. Do you still know what you're playing for this year? These goals that you wrote down in January, or the ones that were floating around in your head, are they still alive? Do they feel like they're still alive? Stephen Covey famously said, begin with the end in mind. And I feel that these quotes, we kind of go, yeah, yeah. And then we kind of promptly forget them, don't we? Once we're in real life. And also once that day-to-day humdrum, you're picking the kids up from school, you need to go and, holidays come round, a tenant moves out, all of these things can take over. So this is a really important first audit question. If I achieve by December what I'm currently on track for, will I be happy with that? Okay, so I'm going to repeat that again. If I achieve by December what I'm currently on track for, will I be happy with that? Now, let's be honest. If the answer is no, then we've still got time. We just need to shift something. It could be, and I am a huge one of this, maybe some of your goals were a little bit unrealistic. Maybe your life circumstances have changed. Maybe you've had an illness. Maybe you've had a divorce. Maybe, so many things could happen. And it's really, really common that maybe you actually just lost sight of your target. Maybe, the emails, the kids, the jobs, everything has just piled in and you lost sight. Just the fact, if you did write down your goals, you are way ahead of the majority of people. And then to actually come back and relook at them again, you are way ahead. Okay. So do not panic. Okay. This is, your chance of a halftime review to actually consciously rewrite the end of your year. So let's go with a simple exercise. So at the top of the page, something like by the 31st of December 2026, or whatever year you're doing it in, I will be proud because, okay. And then finish that sentence with 3 to 5 specific outcomes, not just a number of properties, but really work hard on this. What kind of investor or business owner you've become? How do you feel? What does the world look like to you? How do people treat you when you walk into a networking event? And then ask yourself, does this still excite me? Because you know what? If it doesn't, you've got to adjust it because we're never going to achieve things if we're not really excited. If it doesn't drive us, if it doesn't make us jump out of bed in the mornings. And if you want a bit of support with this, as always, an absolute classic, Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And of course, habit 2, begin with the end in mind. It really is essentially a structured vision exercise. You can absolutely apply that to your property strategy. And again, not just how many houses or how many deals, really look about what kind of life am I building through this. So yeah, this is your first shift for the second half of the year. Recommit to a clear, compelling endpoint. So number 2 is beliefs and self-talk. What story are you running in your head? Because once we have this clear vision, we have to move on to something a little bit more subtle. And yeah, honestly, what story have you been telling yourself so far this year? Results are rarely about strategy. They're about the sentences, that self-talk that's constantly running in your head that nobody else is listening to. Now, maybe you might recognize some of, these sentences. There just aren't any good deals out there at the moment. Is that you? Is that what is going through your head? Maybe it's I don't have enough money, I don't have enough contacts, I don't have enough experience to do these projects or to do bigger projects. How about, oh, I'm behind everyone else. I should be farther along by now. That real comparison. And an absolute belter that is often painfully true is whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Um, by Henry Ford. So, your halftime audit question is, what is that one sentence that I've just been repeating to myself most often about property this year? And write it down. And when you really think about it, other people could probably tell you it. I've got lots of mentees, and the same one crops up most times. And so I can sort of relay it back to them. And it's just our subconscious protecting ourselves. Our subconscious wants to keep us safe. And if we keep believing this self talk, we won't move on. We won't progress. We won't go on to bigger and better things. And perhaps our life won't get better. So think about that sentence, write it down and look at it. You actually see it on the piece of paper. Physically writing has a really massive effect on how we think about that. Now ask yourself, if my best friend said this to me, would I accept it or would I challenge it? This is huge. Would you say to them, I can't believe that you would keep saying that? Or would you say, yeah, poor you. That's really, yeah, that is life. That is it. Because we have to have that opportunity to step into a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. And that fixed mindset is, again, what keeps you where you are, what keeps you not growing, what keeps you in your comfort zone, in your little circle of safety. So if you've never read it, another belter is Carol Dweck's book, Mindset. Um, and a fixed mindset might say, oh, I'm just not good with numbers. Whereas a growth mindset says, I can really learn, or I am really learning to analyze these deals. I just haven't practiced enough yet. So very, very powerful. So your halftime shift is one, taking that unhelpful sentence and writing it down, and two, rewrite it in a way that keeps the challenge, that keeps that door open. Um, so for example, there aren't any deals. And honestly, you know, I've been in property for a number of years, and that is being said all the time. But yet there are so many people doing amazing deals. You may have to look in different places, you may have to think differently, but there are still people who are really successful. So there aren't any deals, might become the deals I want to acquire. The deals I want maybe require me to learn better skills or build more relationships. So I'm going to learn and connect at a higher level. Okay, maybe something like that. Or maybe yours is, oh, I don't have any money. And maybe that becomes, my current capital limits my deals. So my job for this half of the year is to improve my value to investors and partners. And these aren't, fluffy affirmations. It really is choosing a more accurate, more resourceful story that you are talking to yourself, you're feeding to yourself. Because as we said, if you think you can or you can't, you're right. If you're ready to take your property journey to the next level, check out my Property Success Mindset Formula. It's a course on Udemy, and inside you'll discover actionable strategies and exercises designed to shift your thinking, boost your confidence, and help you navigate property challenges with clarity. Whether you're just starting out or looking to break through to a new level, this course delivers the mindset tools professional investors use every day. Visit the link in the show notes to unlock your property potential. Your biggest asset is not just your portfolio, but the way you think. So if you think you can, go for it. Number 3 is strategy and execution. Are your actions aligned? And I think, this part of your audit is where many kind of investors get a bit of a shock. um, because now we look at what you are actually doing. So we can all have these like, yeah, I want to have this, I want to have that. But what are you actually doing to get it? So go and grab your diary, your calendar, your phone, whatever it is, and scroll back on over the last, 4 to 8 weeks and ask yourself truthfully, how many hours did I genuinely spend on high value property actions? And I'm really talking about, viewing deals, analyzing numbers, speaking to agents, following up with investors, following up after you've been to that networking event with all those people you met, maybe working on systems, um, and not just consuming content, because we can read lots and lots of books, but we've got to take action. So you can listen to how to learn to play the piano, But unless you actually have a piano sat in front of you, you're not going to be able to do it. And then this is a toughie. Think about if a stranger were to look at my calendar, what would they assume that my priorities are? That's pretty powerful, that one. So imagine if a stranger were to look at your calendar, what would they assume your priorities are? And, often the truth is this: we say we want more deals, we say we want more cash flow, and we say we want more freedom, but our week reflects priorities over, really basic emails, maybe following up on drama, and maybe just being generally busy. Peter Drucker said, "What gets measured gets managed." So if you're not making your time your absolute priority and measuring that time and measuring your actions, life quickly drifts. I mean, I can't believe it's already halfway through the year. It just goes so quickly. So it will be Christmas tomorrow. um, and another book that is really helpful is The One Thing by Gary Keller. And his core question is, what's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So your halftime exercise is list those top 3 outcomes you want by December. Maybe it's your first deal, maybe it's a JV partner, maybe it's actually systemizing your portfolio that you currently have. And for each one, write down that weekly action. What, is directly going to support that? And for those actions, get that calendar back out and put all the appointments in, schedule times, maybe between 9 and 11. That is your work time. You're not going to pick up any emails. You're not going to answer calls, whatever works for you. And you've really got to have a mindset shift here for the second half of the year. You've got to stop hoping and start scheduling. Because if your calendar doesn't change, your results aren't really going to change either. Number 4, rooms and relationships. Are your circles still right for you? Now, this is something that really matters a lot. Who are you around? As Jim Rohn says, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And that is literally across the board. That's the average of how you think, the average of your salary, the average of your happiness. It really does become a cliche, but in property, it's incredibly visible. So think about the last 6 months. Who are the 3 people you speak to most often about property? Are they encouraging you? Are they challenging you? Are they stretching your thinking? Or are they quietly helping you and supporting you to stay small? Which networking rooms, masterminds, or events have genuinely moved you forward? And which ones have kind of left you tired and not really any wiser? So you've experienced this now for 6 months. Um, you've seen it, firsthand. So I am, part of an amazing networking group, Hard Hats to Heels, and that's women in business and property. And that is a massive growth for me. So what is that event? What are those business events, property networking events that are working for you? What are the right rooms for you that change your confidence, change your deal flow, and even how you see yourself as an investor? So, again, ask these questions. Which one room or relationship has created the most growth for me so far this year? And which room feels heavy, draining, like I'm just showing up just to be seen? Keith Ferrazzi's Never Eat Alone. That is a principle in the idea of nurturing a few deep, genuine relationships rather than just kind of collecting shallow contacts. So your mid-year adjustment is doubling down on one or two rooms that truly serve you, letting go of or reducing the ones that really now just feel like noise, and perhaps intentionally reaching out to one person this week that you think you'd actually like to deepen a relationship with. And remember, rooms, they don't just give you deals, they give you belief, perspective, and standards. So, number 5, emotional state and resilience. How are you being? Remember, we are human beings. So, how are you feeling at the moment? So, this last part, I think a lot of investors will miss. And it's literally like, how are you actually doing? How are you feeling emotionally? How are you mentally? How are you energetically? Because you can have vision, you can have beliefs, the strategy, the network. But if you're literally running on empty, if you're reactive, if you're constantly anxious or in constant comparison, you're going to really sabotage yourself. So here we have this is just all about honest questioning here. Ask yourself, when you think about property right now, what is your dominant feeling? Is it excitement? Is it overwhelm? Is it resentment? Or is it fear? Are you operating from like an urgency? I must make this work now or else. Or are you coming from a calm, long term commitment, knowing that no matter what, you will make it work? And Viktor Franklin said, between stimulus and response, there is a space. And in that space, our power to choose is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Very, very powerful. Property will give you plenty of stimulus. Deals that fall through, builders who disappear, interest rates that move, tenants who leave. But your half-time review is about reclaiming that space between what happens and how you respond. So, two books that I can really recommend are Atomic Habits by James Clear. And that's really about building small, sustainable daily practices that basically keep you grounded. And another one by Hal Elrod is The Miracle Morning. And if you want a kind of structured way to start the day in a better state before you start tackling property decisions, that's a great one. So, your simple challenge for the second half of the year is choose one habit that supports your emotional resilience. Maybe a 10-minute morning journaling practice. Maybe it is a weekly walk with no phone or a short evening reflection where you ask, what did I handle well today? Because really, a regulated grounding can really help you make completely different decisions to someone who's just exhausted and frantic. So let's bring this halftime review together. So we've looked at the 5 parts of your mid-year mindset audit. So we've looked at vision. Are you still clear what you want by December? Beliefs. What is that story running in your head? 3 is execution. What does your calendar look like? Do your actions match your goals? Rooms, that's number 4. Are the circles stretching you or shrinking you? And finally, 5, your state. How are you actually being through all of this? And, one simple implementation step is just to set a 20-minute timer this week and spend just 4 minutes on each of those 5 questions. Don't think, just write it down and see what comes out. And at the end, circle one decision that you're going to make and do differently in the second half of the year. Not 10, not 20, not 5, just 1. Because over the next 6 months, just one shift done consistently will massively compound. So do remember, this is not about perfection. It's about course correction. And thank you so much, for spending that time with me today and being willing to look honestly at where you are in your property journey. You don't need a different year. You just need a different next 6 months. And if you found this helpful, it would really mean the world to me if you shared this episode with another investor or another business owner who is feeling a little bit off track now. And sometimes just a simple halftime check is exactly what they will need to reset. And property success isn't just about what you buy, it's about how you think and who you become along the way. Property rewards clarity, it rewards consistent action, and it rewards people who are brave enough to pause, review, and adjust when something just isn't working. Your mindset is your greatest property. Keep building it.